Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the League of Inches podcast. For us, it's back to a Wednesday night. Obviously, last week with a little bit of a change up. We're back to regular proceedings, which is awesome, which means Supercoach tonight. I know how much you all love it. So if you're watching, again, hit that like button straight away. Subscribe if you haven't. Helps the page out massively. If you're listening, heart the page. Make sure you give us a rating out of 5 as well. 5 is preferred, please. And that does help us grow as well. So just before you start, that would be much appreciated. Chatting all things Supercoach, obviously a huge episode tonight. Going off what we did last week with the TLT for Vegas, this could be another huge one. We've anticipated it. We're going to try and condense things as much as possible for you guys. But we also know at the moment there's obviously a lot going on in southeast Queensland, really. That's the main hitting part, and far northern New South Wales. So when you are listening to this, it might be getting a bit worse, a bit more extreme. So I hope you're all staying safe. Is our main thing to start off this episode with. Stay safe, keep your family, your loved ones safe. That is the main thing that matters the most, to be brutally honest with everyone. So don't push the limits. Don't do anything you shouldn't really be doing. And please just stay safe. Listen, hopefully this gives you the next hour or two to just chill back. Maybe get some headphones in, trying to block out the noise that's happening outside, things like that. And we can just help you through playing with your Supercoach team, sitting there with the family, stuff like that. So please, again, stay safe. And yeah, Trav, I know you're up here as well. So I'll go to you first just before we get into Supercoach stuff. Hope you're staying safe as well, brother. And any messages out there? I know you guys are bracing because you're in one of the big impact zones that they've recorded so far. So hopefully things looking okay so far.
Yeah, they're saying anything south of the eye is going within about 50k radius of the eye of the cyclone is in for a rough time, and where the eye is going through is I'm about 40k's from there. So yeah, I'm bracing for impact. We only got told today at about 12:30 that schools are closing down for the next 2 days. We had to obviously stay till all the kids left this afternoon, and then I was straight in the car and on my way home to fight the traffic, see if I could get a sandbag, which I couldn't. 3.5 hour wait to get a sandbag, which has been like that every day for the last 3 days. So I haven't got sandbags, but if my house floods, I dare say there's going to be a few million other houses flooding. I should be okay. It's just obviously the storm, the wind, damage. I got a few trees around, all that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, I've spent the last few hours doing that. I've literally tried to scoff food on the run, get up, have a shower, put my kids in the shower, put my kids to bed, and I'm straight on here, ready for a Supercoach pod because I have my priorities straight.
We need a bit of a break from here. We need to just talk a bit of Supercoach for a little bit, get out of things, and it's just been one of those days. I think it's getting to a few people, which is understandable. We've seen the big debates across social media today as well since that post or that from Nikorima's wife. Sorry, whatever your feelings are towards that. Again, I think we just need to remember people can have their own way of dealing with these situations, have their own thinking, whether they're freaking out or not. I think everyone's entitled to their own way of how they do process this at the moment. Just please be respectful and please allow others to have their opinion is the big thing, and deal with it the way they are dealing with it. There's kids at stake. There's partners. It's an absolute shit show, if I'm being honest. Jesse, you're nice and dry up there for once. So
down here,
sitting back, down there, doing your thing.
Yeah, well, we actually got a bit of good weather, to be honest with you, the last few days. So we obviously want to. I'm not rubbing anything in. You guys are in for it, and I do feel for you. It's pretty wild times, and it's rough, man. And like all this backlash, all this blow up, it's so friggin' unnecessary. There's bigger things going on at the moment than bickering over bloody social media about what's right and what's wrong and what people should be doing that have no bearing on their own life. Just focus on yourself, your family. Let people react and do what they need to do. To at least get through the next, few coming days at the very least. But yeah, we're here for Supercoach. We're here for the footy. We're obviously, sending thoughts and just best wishes out for everyone, basically. But yeah, no, I hope I hope things go good. I hope, it's not as bad as, the word is what's getting around there for you both. But yeah, obviously you've got you just got to look after yourself and your family first and foremost. But Camera wants out too.
Yeah, Cameron's gone. Cameron wants to go hide at Trav's place. It's heard enough tonight. It's going, I'm out of here. But yeah, pull your heads in, people. Honestly, pull your bloody heads in at the moment. So, and one final warning. Look, at the moment, I think we're okay. Fingers crossed, touching wood. But throughout the episode, there's already been the rain has started a bit around the area. So hopefully the connection stays strong. But just a warning, if there is a bit of freezing, things like that, that will be the reason why. So just blame the internet. We can't control that once again. But we do apologize in advance if anything does happen. Let's get into it. There is so much Supercoach news to talk about. I'm pumped to do it. As I said, this is my little getaway at the moment. I was looking forward to this all day. Busy getting things done. Strapped a shed down that wasn't put on properly, so we needed to strap that down. So I'm the same as Trav, getting things organized, and it's just nice to sit back now and go, I just need about an hour, 2 hours just to chill. So let's talk the Roosters versus the Broncos. So obviously we gave you our teams last week. We put all our changes into the Legends group that throughout the weekend, like we promised we would throughout any change. And then tonight we'll let you know after we've gone through all the team lists, any changes we now have with what we've spoken about and how things are shaping leading into this weekend. And again, the Legends shout out, $2.99 per month to get all that exclusive news, get up-to-date Supercoach news. If you're a Supercoach fan, I suggest it's a big one for Supercoaches. Please go ahead, support the page, and get that extra bit of information. It's vital in my opinion. So for the Roosters, tomorrow night or tonight when you're listening to this, the big talking points, obviously Teddy, the captain's named at fullback. The centers, Mark Nwanga-Nitawasi and Robert Toya. So they weren't mucking around there. They've gone and stuck with their guns, which is great to see. The wingers are, as we thought, Sanders Smith and Townsend are your halves. The Nafahu White gets the starting prop spot at the moment. So obviously Lenu is out at the moment with that suspension. So maybe he might come back into that starting side. If not, we'll keep a nice close eye on that because White's a nice little price. I'm sure the boys will dig into that one shortly. Watson's got the hooker spot. There's been a few people I've seen today question if the bench is a great bench for him or not. But I think the boys, again, will be talking about that one and seeing what we think there. The back row, Victor Radley has confirmed he has gone to the second row now. And Siwa Wong, a late change. Glad to be able to give this to you guys tonight. And so obviously we got the 24-hour mail before this episode started. So no Butcher. Butcher is out, and Siwa Wong starts at lock. It was actually rumoured he did start there in the trials, so that we thought it was a bit harsh to not name him there. So he's finally got his way. The bench, I didn't even want to go there. If I was a Roosters fan, which I know Jesse is, I'd be looking at that bench going, oh, crap. Okay, yeah. This is where we're at the moment. So I'll just save Jesse and not even mention the bench because I don't think any of them are really Supercoach options at the moment. I just feel like, in a way, it's going to be a complete mess, but I could be wrong. Do you want me to go through the Broncos first, then do the whole game as one, or do you want me to go through the Roosters side of things first, boys?
No, go through the Broncos. We'll tie it all in together. Yeah, for sure.
For the Broncos, the back line, as reported, Shibasaki did get that center spot. Arthurs is on the wing, which is good to see. The halves, as predicted, Benny Hunt, Adam Reynolds, fighting fit. No injury concerns there. Corey Pake's got the hooker position. Great to see the props like reported. All one thing I'll say about this lineup, Madge has been very honest with this throughout the preseason, and he's stuck to his guns. He hasn't played any games. He's told people how things are shaping and how players are looking, and he's kept to it. He said that Paddy's going to prop. It's happened. So. No, a lot of coaches are normally a bit like they try and hide things and be a bit cagey with this sort of stuff. I love this approach from Madge. He's just come in and he's gone, you know what? Here we go. This is what we're doing. Come at us and see what you can do for us. Jack Jajeski, probably the best I've ever said that name. So proud of myself there. Confirmed in the back row with Jordan Ricky, which means Brendan P. Cura is actually in the side. He's on the bench. That could be a bit of a play some havoc in the back row. The boys will discuss that one. And apart from that, That's it. Big Ben Decura didn't make this side. So if you did have him as your cheapy option in your props, I would advise aborting mission because that was not that hasn't gone the way the plan was. So Jesse, I'll let you start off. Off you go. I need a break.
Yes, that's all right. Well, I'll just start off with the Rooster side. It is pretty much named as expected. Obviously, we got that late mail just probably, or actually about 25 minutes ago now. Or now almost from Butcher being dropped out for no particular reason. But Wong gets the lock spot. So it does, in a way, kind of put Wong in a bit of discussion, a bit of talking point. Is he going to be someone relevant to start with? I was pretty keen on putting him in the side from all the trials with him starting at lock. Again, he didn't really light the world on fire. And it's hard to read into with this one because I don't know what's happened to Butcher. And I can very well imagine that Wong probably goes back to the bench next week, or in a couple of weeks' time when Lenyu's back and White goes back to the bench potentially. Is Wong even there? But I look at that bench; it's very thin. It's super duper light. Like there's very little going on. So there's a chance that he gets in there. You've got Docker Clay, Steep, Feketi, and Losalu coming in now for Butcher. So not a lot happening at all on the bench. And I think it's kind of one of those things where you look at the minute share that the forwards will get. We'll talk about Connor Watson first up because he's a very popular player, especially in that hooker and dual position with the second row. A lot of the talk was about him getting 80 minutes because there's very little to take off him. Who else is going to take minutes off Watson at the moment? They don't have a backup hooker. Basically, everything has just disappeared out of the club. But Docker Clay can definitely fill in a spot. I feel like what will happen is probably Watson, if he does lose minutes, it's 10. You know what I mean? It's 10 to 15 at the most, very most. And if anything, he might get a spell through the middle because I just don't see what else is going to happen with the guys off the bench. So I don't think it's really a bad thing for Watson, to be honest. I think, if anything, he might get a bit more in base just with that middle rotation if he does get some. But I still don't mind the play, honestly. I think if you're going to run with it, it's pretty good. But again, it's just like, what do the Roosters do? Does he really have that much attacking potential with the side? It's probably going to be a lot in defence. Trav, is there anything you want to touch on with these centres, Toya and Big Mark?
I'll quickly say around Watson that I think Watson is a very good option in the hooker spot. I think there's a really valid play, and he has been in my team until the last 24 hours, to have him just because of where we're sitting with the hookers and what's going on, which we will talk about soon. But one of the big key points that I sort of took out of all these team lists is that the amount of teams playing dual hookers or potential dual hookers, with all our cheap options. So all our good cheap options like Corey Pakes has Billy Walters named at 14. Mamazellis has obviously Humphreys in the halfback, Dodds on suspension, and has now got Sullivan sitting at 14. You've got Crossland sitting there for Newcastle with Brayley sitting at the 14. There's just all of these cheap options. Then you've got Hands at Para and Smith coming out of nowhere, who's only just been announced as a Supercoach player today, in the 14. So there's a very, very high opportunity here to just set and forget somebody. And I'm sitting here, and to be fair, I'm sitting here going, bloody hell, I should have just picked Brayley last week. But it is, and I told everyone I was going to, and I didn't do it. But but who's the option now that it's locked out? And I think Watson is that option for you in the duels. So yeah, I think that's a really good play. On the centers, I think Toya's a lock. Must play. Granted, though, Billy Smith's kind of disappeared into oblivion, and that's a concern. And there's obviously an opportunity somewhere with Billy Smith, but literally he's gone into oblivion. So, who knows what's going to happen there and where he's going to be? So, I think Toya is a pure blown lock. I am not sold. Oh, go.
I believe there was an injury for him that they tried to keep on the down low because I think with his history, he's still coming back from that and not quite there. And I think they're trying to put pressure on him and know that it'll probably come with some media scrutiny if they do release it and, he's got another injury. So,
yeah, I think if anything, he takes probably Mark's spot, to be honest.
Well,
Yeah.
based off
but-
Toya's stat and what he did at New South Wales Cups last year, as well as then how he's played over the preseason and what he's doing over there, I think Toya's got that spot locked down. I think it's his. It's ready to go, and unless something major happens, he's not leaving that spot.
Fingers crossed. He's the
Lock him
center
in.
we need. Yeah, 100%. He's definitely going to be locked in. Again, Sandon Smith, he's in basically pretty much everyone's team, or
Everyone.
at least half of them. God, Townsend was bad in the trials. I really hope it's a different guy that we see this one. Just on Nafahu White as well. Gets a starting prop spot, which is nice because obviously Lenu's out for the next couple of weeks. It just depends what he does in these next 2 weeks to really see if he can actually lock that spot down. So I'm hopeful that he does. I think that he'll probably, do a shift. I don't think he's going to be anything like a Terrell May could have done, but either way, he's what we've got. It's a dual position, 365, 7K, somewhere around there. It's not a bad spot to be in. Yeah, I've got him in my side too, and I think it's a pretty comfortable play for myself. Even if he does come off the bench in, a few weeks' time, probably get some decent minutes looking at that interchange. There's very few to go around, so it's not a big high risk position.
White's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not unfortunately for everybody, White's a no-brainer. Pick him, set him, forget him. He'll play so well over the next 3 weeks that he'll lock that spot down. The Roosters can't get rid of him unless he gets injured. He's or suspended. He's not missing. I think he's that good enough that he will lock that down. Even when Lenu comes back, we know Lenu's not a high minute player, although there's talk that he'll increase his minutes this year. But we know that Lenu's not a huge minute player, so there's still going to be minutes there for him. Lock him, set him. He's good.
Yep, that's pretty much the way that I'm running with it. Much else on the Chooks anymore? I think we've pretty much covered everyone. That's super interesting.
Why don't you talk? In terms of team list, no. Let's wait for a second. I've got someone I want to talk about there.
Okay, we're going on the Broncos.
Let's do it.
Perfect. Okay, so obviously you've got a pretty much staple side for the Broncos. Nothing too extraordinary, barring the Carrigan move to prop. Puts Kobe Hetherington in that discussion there for the lock. Again, I don't know if I'm not sold on it still. I'm really not. I just his points per minute's pretty average, pretty mediocre. I think the minute share is probably just going to do his job. He'll probably rise in cash, to be fair. He's quite cheap, 335 or something around the mark. He'll probably reach 400 relatively soon, I would say, but I just don't think there's a lot of great deal of upside there. Same thing with Jack Jajewski as well. Very popular cheapy option, very, very popular actually, because now he's got that green tick. It's almost like, wow, we've got this starting second rower. But I had him in my side until I saw Piakura on the bench, and then I just kind of raised the flags for me. It's one of those real tricky ones where you think, is he actually going to keep the spot? I know he's won it on merit, and I know he's done enough to earn his spot, but for how long? You know what I mean? This is just to fuel a fire for Piakura to get better? I feel like that's probably poor form on Madge to really play a game with Gajewski's career if he's just trying to make Piakura better and set a standard. But either way, the stats on Gajewski in a starting back row position, I've just gone over 60 minutes because I expect him to get anywhere from 60, maybe even less, with Piakura there. It really depends, but 15 games he's played on the edge. Over 60 minutes, he's got an average of 74 minutes. So in those games, he pretty much plays a full game. He actually averages 50. So yeah, but it's a 0.65 ppm. So if you just scale the 0.65 down to a 60-minute roll, yeah, he'll make coin. He'll probably be priced around that 35 to 40 average, give or take, if he hasn't improved his output. But again, it's like, all right, cool. That's going to be a slow burn to begin with, if he can keep a spot. And that's kind of what's turned me off it a bit. Do either of you two have him in your side?
Certainly do. I'm
do?
more than happy to have him.
Yeah.
We're talking 232K. This is the thing.
Yeah.
And from all reports, Madge and he hasn't lied. Like I just spoke about, he hasn't lied to the media yet. Absolutely loves him. He's raving about how good his guy's been in preseason and how poorly thingamajiggy's bloody Piakura has been this offseason. So I wouldn't even be surprised if Piakura ends up being that guy that just sits on the bench all game and they don't even use him. So But I actually don't think Ricky's been very good, and it hasn't been great for a while. So I actually feel like if anything, Picura comes on for Ricky. I don't think Ricky set the world on fire for a long time. I think he's still got a bit to go to get to that next level in his game. So for 232K, the green ticks there starting. I'm more than happy to have him in there. Obviously, the head knock that he got 2 weeks ago is a little bit of a small concern. But again, 232K, I don't even think I'll be playing him in my top 17 this week. It's purely a money option. I believe he'll be able to get some money for us. So I'm happy to plug him in there for now. It suits my team. It helps me have players elsewhere as well. So I'm happy.
Yeah, there's a couple of other 232K guys at the moment that have come out, which we'll go through as well, that are pretty appealing. I feel like it's just one of those real odd ones. I know his price is so cheap that the risk is near nothing. And if you need to, you have to use a trade to get off him. And that's the only thing I don't want to do. You just kind of got to pick the right guy. But yeah, it's one of those low risk, low reward kind of fill a spot positions that you're really not going to play on any given week. But again, it's there to make some coin. Corey Pakes is another one that kind of fits in that same mold, same price. I think if anything, Corey Pakes probably has less output than Kajeski does, because you know that he's going to be sharing minutes with Walters, and he traditionally has a very low PPM. So it's going to be one of those 30-point. It's going to be like a Lussick of last season, I reckon. The Pakes move. You might have a game or two that spikes him up 100K, 150K, but you got to get off as soon as it happens.
The thing is, though, how long's Moser out for? Have we actually had that confirmed yet? Because I still feel like it's a bit cloudy. I feel like it was only about 2 or 3 weeks away. It wasn't like a huge injury.
Yeah,
it was more, he was missing maybe 2 weeks or something. So, and again, by all reports, he was head and shoulders in front to get that hooker position. So I anticipate Moser will just walk straight back in that team when he's fit.
You would think so. Yeah.
And you won't even get to enjoy the price rise. So
he hasn't walked into the team yet. You know what I mean? And there's been raps on him for a while. So who knows? But again, if he does come into that side, I'll definitely be interested in looking into him. So another couple of cheapies, Shibasaki obviously has come through and locked that center spot down. At least until Stags is back, which is a while away, 6 odd weeks. I think it's going to be a good shout. I've got him in my team. If anything, he's just going to do a job, same as all the other ones. But again, I don't want to get caught up having like 4 at least Broncos bottom dollar cheapies sitting around because it just looks horrible. But with Shibasaki's career average in the centers, it's about 44, 45. So on that side with Hunt, Arthur's on his outside. Walsh loves going left too. He's going to be on that left center. I don't mind it. I think he's actually going to do quite well, unless he's just a decoy and he just doesn't really get much ball and it goes out to Arthur's, which again, I don't mind that play as well. He's about 340K. Yeah, if you got them both, well, you cover them both at that spot. So yeah, I think there's definitely value in the Broncos team at the moment because there's a lot of cheapies in them. But again, it's just how much upside. The Broncos are quite, one-dimensional. It's Walsh in the attack. It's the big forwards. It's the halves, and there's pretty much just everyone else just fills a spot. Anything
have
else?
You both?
Oh, sorry.
Have either of you changed your minds or your thinking around Walsh yet? There's obviously been, since we spoke about him in the review or the preview of both Brisbane and the position, there's been a lot of comments about him, and in our Legends group and that there's a number of people starting to think, I wouldn't mind running with him. Have you changed your mind on him, or you're still pretty solid on, I just don't want to go there. I don't want the headache.
I haven't really. I have tried out a couple of 3 fullback sides in the last 24 hours just to see if I can with Walsh as the fullback. I can do it. It means taking out, well, I wouldn't say 2 guns, a gun and a half, and just getting 2 real mid-range second rowers. And then Walsh. And I'm like, overall, I just don't know if I want these 2 mid-rangers and then having Walsh's up and down. So, yeah, the discussion's definitely there for it. But again, he's so close to Ponga that I'd rather just Ponga.
Yeah.
If he was significantly less, I would. If it was a turbo down to Walsh play where you actually save some decent money, maybe. But yeah, it's not for me. But I definitely see merit in it because, we expect him to be much better.
I don't mind the play. I've always liked Walsh. I brought him up weeks ago around could be an option, but I wanted to wait and see. For consistency wise, I do like the play. And I see the chatter happening now, which is kind of touching on another game. But with Moses' injury, does that hurt Iongi? And therefore, is Iongi now still a really good option to have as that flex or second fullback spot? So I see the play now. I see what they're doing. For me to get from Iongi to Walsh, I need to find 500K. To do that, I've got to do a lot of dropping to get 500K. And I just don't want to do that just yet. I don't think the points that I'm going to get Walsh up is going to outweigh the changes that I've got. So at this point in time, I'm just going to wait and see. And if he proves me wrong, awesome, because I get to watch it because he's so fun to watch and so enjoyable to watch when he's on. So, yeah, I'll happily watch it and see. And if I need to make changes, I will later on.
Yeah. Hope he gets a price rise because I own him every year and I usually just capitalize on the run. So that's when I'll be doing it this year. I guarantee it.
100%. Next
yeah.
game?
That's it.
Tigers Knights.
Let's go. Tigers Knights, the first of the Friday games. Hopefully I can watch this. Fingers crossed. We'll see how things are tracking here for Southeast Queenslanders. We might not have anything. For the Tigers, so Heath Mason starts at fullback. That is because Dreambuller is out, injured, I believe. Their wingers, so the new boys on the block, Taruva and Skelton, get the winger spots, and their centers have been confirmed. Dewey, and it's not my boy Stafford Toa, it's Solomona Fatape, so he gets the spot there. Luai's confirmed to be the halfback alongside Galvin. Big Terrell May gets his number 8 jersey, so he'll be starting. And he's not starting with Royce Hunt. He will come off the bench as a bit of impact. Fanua Pole, who I thought was really, really impressive in the trials, so I think he thoroughly deserves that start. So Fanua Pole will start with him. No Coruscant either, so that means Talon De Silva starts. Their back row, Alex Seyfarth, that was heavily rumoured. It is now confirmed that Seyfarth will be the starting back rower for him, and Alex Twell's the lock. Again, on the bench, you've got both Jack Bird and Royce Hunt. So 2 key big players in the Supercoach game so far. Most of the time, I'd say I hate that, but I actually don't mind it at all for them and the way this Tigers team is looking. It hasn't deterred me from owning either of them if I did. So if I was having them right now and I've seen that, I'd be more than happy to still run with them. I think they'll provide plenty of impact and still play some decent minutes from that bench spot. For the Knights, Schiller gets the wing spot because Fletcher Sharp is confirmed at 5'8", and he will partner Jack Cogger in the halves. So Jack Cogger gets first crack at the halfback spot. And this should be hopefully there for a little bit because Tyson Gilmore's going in for back surgery. So he's out for an indefinite period of time, I believe. So that should help force Adam O'Brien's hand at not being able to do too many changes to this halves. He still has Hastings and Price there, so we will not say never, but that's one less choice he can make. Crosland gets the hooker spot that was talked about in the preseason, confirmed, but Jaden Brayley is on the bench. So just keep an eye on that because that could be one of those literally 40-40 splits. So might not be great at all. On paper, it looks great that Crosland gets the starting spot, but yeah, I just want to wait to see till I get too excited about that one. Kai Pearce-Paul gets the back row spot, and Tyson Frizzell lock. So he has locked in that lock spot. Interestingly enough, though, Adam Elliott, who had that spot down on lock basically for the last couple of years, hasn't even made the bench. He's on the reserves. So I don't know what's happened to him in the offseason if what the baby news has got to him. Who knows? But and apart from that, yeah. Trav, you want to attack this one? You want Jesse? Who wants to go?
Go on, Trav. I'll
okay. Yeah, so I'll pull up my notes since I'm starting. Love Jarrell Skelton. I think that's a really good shout out there. Very keen to watch what he goes. I also really like, to be fair, there's a lot of players on this West Tigers team that I'm really keen on. And I just literally can't have them all. I really like Taruva out on his wing as well. And my concern is at this point in time, as much as I like them both, I think I need to see the way the Tigers play as to which one I want to pick or who I want to get in later on. And it's the same in the centers. I like Dewey. The fact that he's 5'8", dual makes a really enticing call. He'll be kicking this week. Whether he kicks when Coruscant comes back is to be seen. But I really like that. But I also think a bit of a sneaky play is Fatape, and obviously they're very keen on him and what he can do, and that's why he's been able to get the pick, because Stafford Toll was supposed to be the shoe-in for that replacement of Olam. So
He was injured.
There's four dudes there that I'm really keen to see and watch, and none of them I want to pick just yet. I need to wait and watch what they've got. I know Jesse's very keen on Dewey, but yeah, I sort of sit with that. The other, I think Lockie Galvin and Jerome Luai, obviously we know where they are. We know what they can do. I think Luai, I've actually told a few Legends boys that have privately messaged me with their teams, and talked out a few options and things like that. And the name that I keep talking about is, I think Jerome Luai's in for a big year. Particularly a big start. I think the ball has to play through his hands to start with. I think there's so many changes and so many particulars of what the West Tigers have got to do. And I think it has to come down to Luai. And I think the ball's just going to be in his hands for the first few weeks as he shores up what we're going to do, what the Tigers are going to do. And I think that just, to me, screams more attacking stats, which obviously makes more points. So at his price, I think is 570-ish. He's a really good play. And obviously Terrell May. And I've made a way and found a way to get Alex Seyfarth into my bench in my 2RF. So I didn't want to get Gustjevski. I really wanted to get Seyfarth. So I played around with that. Seyfarth, I'm sitting there watching. Seyfarth, just really quickly, and we've set the stats already in previous weeks, but he's priced at a 44-point average from 48 minutes last year. In his 3 games of 80 minutes, which Jesse's mentioned, I know for a fact he has mentioned a few times, in his games of 80 minutes, he's averaged 63 with a 45 in base. I think he's got 80 minutes. I think he's going to. Is he not locked in for 80 minutes? If anyone wants to disagree with me or tell me something otherwise, because I haven't heard, I think he's locked into 80 minutes.
Yep, certainly.
Yep. So I think
changing.
So I think that's a no-brainer. I think Seyfarth is an easy no-brainer for a mid-pricer. I've actually tried to get away from the mid-prices this year now. Have realised from the weekend that I need to pick more guns. So I've tried to get away from the mid-prices, but he's just one that just screams value to me. And I've had to make sure I get him in. So I did everything I could today to get him on my side. He is locked and loaded.
Yep. Yeah, he's definitely in my side as well. He's really the only mid-range 400 guy that I'm kind of humouring at the moment. I really, actually, to be fair, pretty much everything below him, I have no confidence in. It's kind of hard. It's sort of shifted my entire team around from the reveal last week, where I'm like, God, I just don't like what's on offer at the moment, especially with the uncertainty around it all. But I do like Seyfarth. Yeah, 4 games over 60 minutes last year, averaged 69. So, and that was middle as well. So really good stats for him. It's worth noting with Stafford Toa, he's got a minor injury, and he's expected to be available from round 2 from NRL Physio. So that's probably half the reason he wasn't selected, is because he's injured. But I'd be interested to see if he does get a look in next week. And then Fatape might drop out. And then all of a sudden we've got, Stafford Toa as an option. But again, to your point, Trav, you can't have too many Tigers, because you have to remember they are still the Tigers. And that's kind of where I'm at too, because I do like Dewey. He's in my side. I like the duel. I think the duel is really handy, having that 5'8", especially after what we witnessed with Metcalf. If anyone wants out or wants a contingency plan, it's not a bad idea to have one, especially in your center wing. So whether or not you do it or not, or you stick the faith with Metcalf, I think it's just worth having at the very least for a very similar price. So yeah, it's just a very easy safety net. Skelton is a base stat weapon. I'm very keen to see how he goes. He's one of my favorite 500Kers too. Kind of gone cold on the boys on the bench. Bird in particular. Don't mind the Royce Hunt move, really. I just don't know.
Bird's a flat, draw a line through the name. Don't even bother.
Yeah, that's straight up. Yeah,
that's a quick trade out. Yep.
Yeah, don't get Bird. I'm sorry.
66 minutes last year at centre, and he averaged 39 points. So he's now coming off the bench. He's not going to get 66 minutes. He's not going to be playing at centre either. But that's not
I just don't know how
easy
much he's
line.
got. Yeah, I just don't know how much he's got left in him. Honestly, he's just copped a beating for too long. Just let him.
I disagree.
Do you?
I cannot disagree more.
Oh,
I act
God.
like center stats and completely. He's going to be in the middle. He's going to be
Yeah, but he's
working.
Off the bench, there's a difference.
Yeah, Twile won't be playing
He's
many
not gonna
minutes.
get.
So he'll have a first stint of
He's not
about
going to get
20,
more than
25 minutes. And then Jack Bird will play the rest of the game. So he'll get 60 to 55 minutes. And I think it'll be quality. He'll be able to play at a bit more of a higher pace, more intense. I'm actually more keen on Bird being not starting lock and actually coming off, not being in that bash and barge at the start. I think this is actually brilliant coaching by Benji. So I'm more keen on Bird now than I ever have been.
I think with Bird, he's going to be a points per minute guy, give or take. It depends on how many minutes he gets and depends on how many games he actually plays this year. And that's where I'm sort of on the fence with him. I just don't like. I'm not too fussed on it. He's not dirt cheap. He's not bottom dollar. What is he? 390k, 380k. If he
Something like
plays
that, yeah.
38 minutes, which is what I would expect to see from him off the bench, he makes maybe 35, 40 points, which is basically his current value.
He won't play
And
38 minutes. He plays way more than 38 minutes.
he's got a bit of history at lock, but really big minute history at lock. So it's very hard to see what he's going to get at the Tigers. But in 22 he played 4 games at lock, over 60 minutes. It was 74 minutes a game, which is freaking monstrous. Averaged 68.5 in those 4 games. So really impressive. 2023 he played 5 games lock, 64 minutes in those games. He averaged 65. So it's point a minute stuff. 2 years on since then, off the bench. Who knows?
extra injuries. Playing for the Tigers, no thanks.
Who knows?
I'll
Honestly,
just
who
watch
knows?
and see.
His positioning is nice. The dual center, second row, handy. Price 380. It's a wait and see. Honestly, if he's somehow just turned it around, he's fit, ready. He's not going to be injured. He's got nothing wrong with him. I might humor it down the line, but again, you're on your own on that one, Joel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy to be.
Oh, geez. Outside of that, man, Tigers are the Tigers. We'll see what happens with them. For the Knights, though, what really is there that's surprising with this Knights team? Nothing. It's kind of what we all sort of expected.
The way the trials went was pretty much what we expected. I mean, a surprise is that they've named Sharp at 5'8", but again, they did that at the start of trial, so it's not like they're playing any tricks there.
Yeah, that was spoken about early on too, that Sharp was going to be training at 5'8", and that's where all the bloody criticism come from. But then he impressed really well. He was really good in that 5'8" spot. So I honestly, I've looked at him as an option, but again, I'm like, I don't want to get caught in with too many Knights because I like Marzu, I like Lucas, I've obviously got Ponga. You can't have them all. They got a bye in round 4, so that's a lot to lose in round 4. Yeah, it's a tricky one, but there's a lot of backline options at the moment with this team. I think Ponga's pretty well a lock-in, but 50% of people agree, so it's quite heavy ownership. Marzu, heavily underpriced in my opinion at 500. Sharp could be anything, really handy, but he's unfortunately got that fullback duel, and I have no interest in playing him at fullback.
And
So
636.
a bit dearer, yeah,
Yeah,
bit more coin.
So I just need to wait and see what happens there. There's a lot of money in a brand new role for him, and he's heavily priced because he blew the scales off the bloody Richter scale to end the year last year for Newcastle when he went on his try scoring sabbatical. So I just gotta. I just need to wait to see how he plays with that. But geez, I'm interested to watch him. I think one of the other boys to mention that is on Joel's is James Schiller, and I'm very keen to watch what he does and how he plays. But again, I'm not going to start with him. I just want to watch and see how he plays out on the wing. But I think he's replacing the wing that bloody Fletcher Sharp was on last year, wasn't he? Where he on his nightmare when it would not for opposing teams. So that could be a really good play and something to really watch strong, even with Best and Marjo on the opposite wing. But just wait and see. The only thing I've got and the question I want to ask is the 4 forward bench. I mean, technically Brayley's a forward, but it's Hetherington, Jones, Croker. Do you think that plays anything into the minutes of Dylan Lucas?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I'd actually be pretty confident thinking Dylan Lucas gets a full game. he's a bit more versatile, to be fair. And I think if between him and Kai Paul, they both can play 80 minutes comfortably. So I don't really know if either of them do lose a great deal of minutes. It could just be straight bench rotation. Brayley for Crossland, Saifidi, Thompson, Frizzell for the other three. Like, it could be quite straightforward. I really like Lucas as an option. I think he's an absolute goer. Doesn't really have a bad game in him as well. 14 games last year, back row, playing pretty much, 80 minutes for every single game that he played there. Averaged 65, but was 60 in base. So, like, that's so solid, for what he's priced at currently. And he's got a dual center as well. So there's a lot of value in him. Pierce Paul hasn't really had much of a talk in. I think the side that he's playing on, the right-hand side, probably not going to get as much love on the left now with Sharp there, and especially Ponga and all the good stuff on the left-hand side. But again, we saw it go right a lot of the time last year. And you've got to remember, it's the same side that Dom Young was on when he was there too, banging out tries. So it's a good spot to be outside of Gagai, especially inside him as well. So, like, there's talent everywhere, but we'll just see if the lockdown of the halves combination can actually give the Knights some stability for once, and not have this lingering thing in the back of their mind of who's going to be the combination now. So, to be fair, no one's really been talking about Cogger. I don't really think he's a great option in general. I just don't think there's a lot in there, but he's a dual position, 400k, half and 5'8". He might come in handy somewhere, probably in a draft league now that he's going to be locked down. So, yeah, the only other thing really, Crossland. If you look in mid-range hookers, he's in the discussion too. Again, the minute shares there. He had a good trial. Just depends if he does get that middle rotation at the same time when Brayley comes on. Could be something, but yeah, there's a couple of other 350k, 300k hookers, i.e. Tom Starling, that I'd be more interested in for the long term. So, yeah, much else for the Knights, Joel, yourself?
No, I think we spent way too much time on these two teams anyway.
Cool. Next game.
Happy to move on from the Knights, please. Last Friday game, obviously, do not turn up to Suncorp Stadium. It will not be on there. This has been moved to Combank Stadium in Sydney. Rabbitohs versus the Dolphins. So obviously a couple of late changes as we come to air as well for the Dolphins, which we'll touch on. The fullback confirmed, Jai Gray, with no surprises there. Isaiah Tass, I know that's been mentioned a couple of times late on here. Tyrone Munro are your wingers. Jack Whiten and the big boy is back. Crazy Eyes himself, Campbell Graham. So he has been named in the centres. Looking forward to that. Cody Walker's named as well at 5'8", so he's overcome. The big play, Jamie Humphries. Don't get too excited. He hasn't necessarily won the jersey yet because Dottie's suspended. So we'll know next week if that's actually a jersey that Jamie Humphries has won or not. I'll just be holding off for now. Kebby starting at the prop. Mamazoulis does have that starting hooker spot confirmed. The back rows, as expected. Lachlan Hubner has been named to start in the 13, which has become a huge, huge talking point. Jaden Sullivan on the bench. Not too sure where he plays because I actually can't see him playing middle. So I thought that could be a good thing for Mamazoulis. So see what happens there with Sullivan and where they actually put him and where he fits in. They do have Savila Havili, who has played it in the past, but again, I think he's used more as a middle forward, especially with the way this team's looking. Tallis Duncan's on the bench as well, and then Tavita Totola, Jesse's boy. He's there as well. For the Dolphins, mentioned it has a couple more late changes here. Junior Tupu's on the wing. No Bostock in this lineup. Jake Averilli back to the centres. Sean O'Sullivan comes in for Cody Nikarima, who has decided to stay home. Obviously, that was in the media today. Cannot say anything about that. Fair play to him. Choosing his family over it. So would probably do the exact same thing if I was in his shoes, if I'm being honest to you. So Isaiah Katoa will be his halfback. The rest of that, Finney Fuliaki and Max Plath are your edge back rowers. And Tommy Gilbert starts, feels like we haven't seen him for so long, starts at lock. And that's about it for the Dolphins. Jesse, back to you.
Yeah, so kicking off with the Rabbits, Jai Gray obviously filling in for Latrell. I don't think he's a great deal of options. He doesn't have his duel anymore. Tass could be something if he gets the goal kicking for a few weeks while Johnson's out. Again, I think he might just drop out entirely when everything gets back into the way it should be, but we haven't seen that Rabbits team forever. So there's a chance that he always lingers around. So cheap enough to do some stuff, but nothing exciting. I'm very keen on Campbell Graham. He's actually back in my side. He was always going to be in my side, providing he was fit. I think I said that from the pre-team reveal before the app even launched. He's definitely in my team. So he is comfortably in there now. With all the word about all the Dolphins players potentially being out too, gives me more confidence with him. Even if he isn't fully fit and firing, I think it's probably a good game for him to come back and actually do something. So yeah, very comfortable. Same as Munro too. Munro's going to be on the left-hand side. Cody Walker's back. It's a good spot to be. So yeah, a lot of upside in this side that we were looking at 2 weeks ago, thinking, holy shit, they're just decimated. A few of them come back. So yeah, there's a bit of hope for the Rabbits at the moment. Memzelis, the minute share between having Sullivan and Havili both on the bench terrifies me. I think they all just dig in and just rip into each other. But in saying that, he's still in my team because I don't like anyone else in that hooker spot cheaper. I can't afford anyone else.
I agree.
Lockie Hubner, though, has me so intrigued, man. So we haven't spoken about Lockie Hubner because the Rabbitohs preview was so long ago that he wasn't even in discussion. But his reserve grade stats, which I haven't looked at until just this minute, are incredible. So I'm going to share them live on air when you're listening to this tomorrow. 18 games he played last year, average 70. Huge. Going back through his minutes, from 21 to 24, he basically plays anywhere from 60-ish to 70 minutes at lock. Unreal. Basing 60 at least, give or take. So, like, they're freaking monstrous numbers. Obviously, Bennett's got big raps on him. Like, if he can keep that thing, man, for his price, oh, geez, I haven't seen a cheapie forward this exciting since Hopgood. But I'm not getting that excited yet. I'm not going to start calling it. Could be something real good, though, because obviously we know how long Murray's out for. So, a couple of little things happening there for the Bunnies. Trav, did you want to touch on anyone in the Dolphins?
There's lots to talk about there, but I think that's a tough one, and might end up having to be some posts that we might have to do a little bit closer to the game because there's word that there's 5 guys sitting out, I think you said, Joel. We don't know who they are. There's obviously one of them we can all tell who is, and that can be
confirmed. So.
Yeah, so
Nikorima
and Nichols, yeah. Right? So there's 2, but there's also 3 others. So I think it's just a wait and see. Yeah, so I mean, I'll have a quick chat. So Tommy Gilbert playing the 13, I think, is someone I'm really going to watch. How exciting. I'm so happy that he's back. He's a gun, and I'm really keen to watch him play just for the sake of that fact that he is really good. And that he's missed 2 years, but I'm very keen to see that. But I'm going to watch, not get onto. Finifuaki, I am off. I am off that train and have traded him out. And my thoughts are I'm going to wait and see. I don't think he's locked 80 minutes. He may do this week if he's still playing with the potential outs and stuff like that. But I don't think he's going to lock that down. And unless he's getting close to 80, I'm not interested in Finifuaki at this point in time with the way that their list goes, as well as with Lemuelu. So if this is their best team basically put on paper, Lemuelu was on the bench. That just makes me more not keen on him. Max Plath, I am, as everyone knows, and as Joel said many times, I am a very big fan of the Psychoplath. And I'm very keen to see him at 613-ish K, dual hooker 2RF. He is not in my team, and I'm going to watch and see. I currently are sitting on Jermaine Asako, and he is in my team, and I'm really happy about that. I've said that many times. So he's currently in my team, but again, I'm just going to wait and see what happens. So that's a really quick snapshot of the Dolphins. I think we probably, Joel and Jesse, need to do a couple of posts when it comes up as to what we do with the Dolphins moving forward, just based on what might happen.
Yeah, this team list is going to be a bit of a chop and change leading into it. And, understandably so. But, yeah, it is kind of hard to read into this team overall. So the options that are in front of us, we don't know which 5 are missing. We don't know who's replacing them. So, yeah, very hard to really do too much more on these boys, unfortunately.
Just quickly, I want to put something out there regarding the Finifuaki situation. I actually believe he might be 80 minutes and lock him in there for that, because I actually feel like Max Plath might spend a little bit of time in the middle throughout the game, and they will have Tommy Gilbert come off for just a little stint just because obviously we've seen him have a number of big injuries the last couple of years. We've seen Max Plath last year consistently play big minutes and do it extremely well. So I have a feeling he might go to lock at some points throughout each game, and Lemuelu will come on for Gilbert, and there'll be a little bit of a shuffle there. I'm not as worried about Filiaki's minutes at all. So
I kind of see that sort of happening at the same time, but again, like I don't expect him to play 80 all the time. He didn't. He played 80 a couple times last year. He did, you know what I mean? But even still, in the games that he played 80, some of them were quite low. He did have a couple of big ones here and there, but it's that floor. And if he doesn't get the 80 guaranteed, it's like, is it just going to be a sort of a middler? Averaged 54 minutes last year in 23 games, averaged 37 points is what he's priced off. So expect another 10, 15 minutes. That's almost 80, which probably puts him at another 5 points, give or take, which puts him around that 40. So for his price, 370, slight upside. We're just sort of hoping he just has his, a breakout year at the Fins and like he just excels and, kills it and averages 50. And if that's the case, and that's what it looks like, if he passes the eye test, you can definitely get him in. Like, there's no reason not to. He's cheap enough. He's a downgrade option to almost anyone. So that's kind of what I'll be looking forward to. I was very keen preseason before it all started to come through, and then I just got gradually colder and colder. Same thing as Gilbert, but he's actually in my draft side for the League of Inches draft. So I will be watching that one. Very anticipating a good return. So, yeah, it is good to have him back. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a few things that I want to see what happens with this minutes rotation, especially with Plath going into the second row. That kind of threw a spanner into everything we had planned, or thinking about what would happen for the Fins, because Plath going into the second row was not on my bingo card. But here it is, you know what I mean? And Lemuelu's on the bench. And I would have expected Lemuelu, in my opinion, probably one of their better second rowers. So I would probably put him above Fine Filiaki personally, but apparently not. So we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Yep, fair.
That's it.
Fair.
Yep.
All right. Next game up, it is the Saturday 5:30 game for New South Wales. The Dragons versus the Bulldogs. We're really looking forward to this game. And we'll talk about it with the Bulldogs, but Gus has dropped a few little sneaky hints on his podcast today that I was listening to that really pricked my ears up. And I thought, hang on a second, there's some stuff happening at the Dogs that has been kept under wraps quite a lot. For the Dragons, Gutho has got his fullback jersey. No Sloan. So Tui Pilotu and Matthew Feagai are your wingers. We already know who the centers are. Halves are as expected. Toby Couchman confirmed to start at prop with Emre Gula. Damien Cook gets first dibs at the hooker position. No surprise there. Jacob Little is on the bench. Jack DeBellin gets the lock spot as well. Apart from that, Hamish Stewart gets a spot on the interchange bench for the Dragons as well. For the Doggies, now, before I go into it, so on these podcasts today, if anyone listened to it, he actually mentioned, Gussie mentioned that apparently the Dogs are already down to like asking the NRL for approval to play two guys or name two guys in this starting 23. So huge to already be round one and to be that deep into your squad. I almost think it's unheard of. I don't know what, and how has this not been spoken about more? Because then you look at the team and I go through it, there's actually still like, they've got a really good team, but it does drop off quite quickly once you get to the reserves. So keep an eye on that. And he reckons as well that there'll be maybe 2 or 3 late outs before this game. So they're keeping their cards close to their chest, but at the same time, he dropped a few little sneakies out there. And it's widely tipped that one of those will be Sitili Tupanua, who's currently on the bench. We'll just keep an eye on what happens there. But Connor Tracy's on the wing. At fullback. Then your wingers, Marcelo Montoya does get that wing spot with Blake Wilson. Your halves are stock standard, and the rest of the team is basically stock standard, like as you would expect the run-on team. And your bench is fairly like Bailey Haywood, Harry Hayes, Jamin Semin, and then Sitili Tupanua is on there as well. We just don't know who's going to be these players that Gus is talking about. So that's the odd thing because their reserves, as I said, aren't that crash hot. So Curtis Moran's there. Got a bit of raps on him. I think he's a bit of a goer, but yeah, interesting to see what happens there, boys. I think it's Trav. Talk about this one.
Hello, Emre Gula.
Yep.
Anyone else want to get on top of him? Because holy moly, get him in your team. So what's he priced? 311? Is that right? 311.
Yep.
Playing on that Dragons team, very, very keen front row forward with everything that's happening, and the way that the cheapy options have popped up for us in our front row forward. He is almost a must-have. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. He is a hard worker. He's a very underrated signing. I said it when they did it right from the get-go. So very keen to watch him. As much as this is, and this is Supercoach relevant, but not so much. I'm really keen to see what happens with Damien Cook and Jacob Little. Like, there's a story there that I'm just really interested to watch and see how it plays out. Jacob Little was awesome last year as just a straight up hooker at the Dragons. Damien Cook was as well at the Rabbitohs. So they're now playing on the same team together. We think there's chatter around Damien Cook ends up not playing, or there's clearly going to be a minute share. Damien Cook ends up in the lock, which will be interesting. But and then Little comes in. So I'm very interested to see how that all plays out. Just on a quick one, Cheapy Sione Finau is out. So just be mindful. I think it's only that it's a concussion game. He hasn't been named to play in the New South Wales Cup game. So he's obviously out injured. So I feel like he will play when he's healthy. So maybe just think you're welcome to. I think you could probably sit him in there, save yourself a trade. You're just going to be 1 week down, which is technically what people are doing with the Titans. Probably what they're going to be doing with Melbourne because they got the round 2 bye. So just think about him. You don't necessarily have to trade him out. So that's about it for the Dragons. Unless you guys got something else.
I don't know about Finau because realistically he scored those tries outside of Holmes and like Tuipulotu's there. That's his spot. He's not going anywhere. If he's going to come through, I would imagine it's on the right-hand side outside of Sully. I'm not as interested at all. Anyone outside Holmes on that wing is going to be in for a bucket load of tries. So I'm very keen on him. He's a massive smoky. Could be really good. He was very impressive last year, so he could be awesome. Gula. Gula could be monstrous, man. At that price, look, in games that he's played over 40 minutes, he's averaged 48 minutes. He's also averaged 50 points. He's played 13 of them. So it's not a massive sample, but it's pretty consistent. It's very, very steady across all of his scores too. So if you're calling him a 50-point average, he's about 150k unders at least. Not bad, man. Not bad for a third front rower. I wouldn't probably put 330 or 320k into like a fourth slot. You could probably, even still, I wouldn't start him because you've got Horsburgh and the like too, a bit more output. But then there's a spot for him, 100% on your bench, definitely. And I think he's easy money. So I really like that shout. It's really good. But outside that, man, the team is both of these sides are as expected as you could possibly have imagined for both of them. Couchman getting added with this duel is pretty fun, but no, nothing else for the Dragons for me. For the Dogs, man, it is what it is. We'll have to see which those players are out as well because they're kind of just going to, we won't know until quite late. But yeah, with Tupanua out, suspected anyway, I was already super keen on Preston. I'm even more keen on Preston because he's the only thing that I could imagine that's going to take minutes away if Preston does actually lose minutes in general. But the side is good. They're solid as much as they can be. The back line, I don't know if I'm super interested in a super coach perspective on what their attacking output looks like. Defensively, they're guns. Entertaining enough to watch, but yeah, they're just without Carraz. I'm just not super keen on their wingers and their centers, but they'll definitely do a job for them. Is there really too much to talk about for the Doggies, super coach wise? I feel like it's
not really. Preston is the man. Matt Burton obviously is a good option for 5'8". I think he's going to have to play with the ball in his hands a lot, just with some of the injuries and things that they've got to have. So he's a good shout out. He's expensive. He's a good shout out. Just anyone that's questioning Josh Curran is suspended, so he will come back. So just watch that. He's a decent option for a mid 500k duel. But I'm going to say it again because I've said it a few times, Jesse. There's one that I really would like you to dive deep into, and that's Connor Tracy.
Connor Tracy, eh?
Just I've got to do it. I've got to bring him up. I really do. With this list, they've got injuries. Carraz been injured. I think there's just got to be a little bit more play. I think the ball's going to go through his hands as a fullback a bit more. I don't know. The more and more I think about it, the more and more I'm keen to see Connor Tracy and his Supercoach scores.
Nah, not for me. Not at all. His career average at fullback is dearer than what he's current. Oh, sorry, it's cheaper than what he's currently priced at. So it's not good for upside and potential. He had a monster game last year. He scored 167 points. I think it was 4 tries or something like that. It was just unbelievable. But outside of that, like the majority of his scores are under 50. Majority of those scores are under 40. He's got a handful of games where he'll probably do something big. You know, he might get an 80 or a 70 here and there. He's priced at 587. Like, look at the center wing talent and pool that we've got at the moment in the 500s. Even close to the 587 mark. You know what I mean? Like, you go down a little bit, you've got Roger, you've got a whole bunch of other ones sitting around there. You get down to 500, take your pick. You go down to 450, take your pick. I just don't think there's anywhere that he kind of fits the bill. And I understand it's a fullback in the center spot. That has its own appeal in itself. But, you know, you saw the same thing with Weeks in your 5'8 spot, drop a 33. Like, in those games, the fullback can kind of just not do it. I feel like Tracy's a very busy boy. And 1 in 5 games, he'll do something fun and exciting. The rest of it's just work. So, yeah, he doesn't have it for me. Honestly, he really doesn't. He's 587. I honestly think he'll lose money before he gains anything. But I'm just going off numbers on this one. Eye test, he looks fantastic all the time. And that's what makes you think he's going to really get you in and get you some big points. But it just doesn't seem to happen. So, but obviously, I think you're quite keen going into this discussion. So,
yeah, I am keen.
Yeah.
I think there's more to it than just meets the eye with this one. No, well, I'm intrigued, and I'm keen to see it as a pod. I've got to find 580K, but I just think he's someone to think about. He's now locked that fullback spot down for the Bulldogs. It's his spot. He's done a preseason. Like he went into last year as not as their fullback. Like I think now it's finally this is his spot. He's locked in. I think it's different. I love the work that he does. I think he's going to have to do that early days and probably for at least the first quarter of the season. I think he's a viable play. I don't hate that option, and I have seen plenty of people message me about it and talk about it.
Yeah, like I understand. I definitely get the move. The Bulldogs run looks good. The jewel is nice. He's definitely the fullback, so you can basically rule it in that way. Last year as a fullback specifically, so cutting out all the winger games that he started off with, he averaged 59.9 with a 167 in there. And that 167 is inflating the shit out of his average. And it happened. The game happened. He scored that many points. The same way we look at injury-riddled games and we take them out of their average, respectively, to see a comfortable game. That game did happen, and he absolutely brained it. But admittedly, that game taken out of his average brings it down to 53, which already puts him 50, 60K overs on what his current price is. He's overvalued for that. And if he can do that more consistently, then 100%. The appeal in there, the interest is definitely there for it. But you look outside of that game, there's a 34, a 49, a 32, a 39, a 32. A 29, a 37, a 43. Like there's a lot of low scores. So yeah, that's what kind of scares me off. The fact that his low scores are very low and he doesn't really have those massive blowout games often enough to sort of counter it. But yeah, bit on Tracy.
Yep. Yeah, I don't. I don't mind. I don't like it. I don't like it, and I don't know. I don't know if him securing the fullback jersey is a good thing for the Bulldogs personally either, because I think there's much better fullbacks in the game at the moment. He's not doing it because he's setting the bottom flyer. It's because Blake Tough is doing nothing apart from bleaching his hair, which he's very good at. He's very good at bleaching his hair, which we have seen so in the trials.
Yeah.
Next up, we got the Manly Sea Eagles against the Cowboys. Huge game coming up. Saturday night, 7:30. Would have loved this to be on a Sunday night, a Sunday Arvo. Really would just, it's ultimate C turbo for mine if it's a Sunday at Brookie. Oh, anyway, he is lining up at fullback. There was some weird freak mail going around, I think, last week that he went down. He's not the case. He's up, he's fit, he's firing, ready to go. Their backline. So there was a lot of conjecture about their backline, who fits where. So Jason Saab, Leo Hopewadi get the wing spots. Cooler and Garrick get into your center. So all this talk in the preseason about Garrick, he's going back to center. He's going back to wing. Not to be for now anyway. We'll see. And it looks like this will be their preferred backline moving forward. And Talau will miss out until there is an injury, which I understand. I don't know how people were not having Leo in their wing spot. I think he's an absolute gun and deserves to almost be first picked apart from Turbo in that backline. He's an absolute freak that I just think needs to be in each and every week. Halves are as expected. Forward pack is apart from the fact that Takiao actually gets a start. Such a crazy whirlwind adventure for went to the Bulldogs last year, didn't pass the fitness test for the Bulldogs, so ended up not getting the contract. Fast forward another 6 months, he's now at Manly, and after some decent trial form where he actually looks pretty fit, looks good, he gets that starting spot, so keep an eye on that and if he can keep that. And apart from that, Jazz Tavanga actually gets the hooker spot. Croker's obviously injured, but Jake Simpkin is on the bench, so just keep an eye on that and see how that plays out, because that might mean Tavanga gets to play a little bit of maybe lock at some point and give Jakey Boy a bit of a rest as well. So keep an eye on that one. For the Cowboys, as expected, you sort of your halves. Duffy gets that halfback jersey, which is awesome to see. Their backline was basically as we expected. So Purdue does get the center spot. So super coaches are absolutely loving this combination of Duffy and Purdue. Absolutely brilliant for all of us. They look like they're both actually going to be quite involved in this Cowboys team as well, which is even better. So brilliant. Can't wait. Vailea gets the other center spot and Braden Burns gets the wing spots. So that was a late thing. I think a lot of people forgot about Burns in the off season, and then we seen him in the trials and went, oh, hang on, that's right. They got Burns still at that team. Yep, he'll get that wing spot, and he has done. So unfortunately, we don't get a second lot of cheapies there or third lot of cheapies there, but we can't be too greedy, can we? We have to be happy with two. Forward pack is basically as expected. Johnny Bateman gets the second row spot for the Cowboys. That is locked in. That's it. Cohen Hess comes off the bench. So he was talked about early on. I think his numbers have quickly dwindled down. We've seen that it's going to take him a while to come back from that injury, and he's going to be probably getting a very short stint, especially to start off with. So I don't feel like he's a super coach option. Jesse, attack this one.
Yep, Manly. Their backline, it looks deadly, as always. So, yeah, Lehigh's in, which is good because he's a freaking weapon. Oh, man, I just don't see how Talau's going to make his way back over Lehigh, to be honest. Sorry, Talau. Like, you had a good run last season, but shit, if Lehigh gets that spot, if he runs off with it, man, you are never, ever getting that number 5 back. Either way, yeah, they're insane, man. That whole side is going to just bang him out. But yeah, Garrick's in the centers. Look, he killed it in the centers, to be fair, last year. He would have averaged 79. We know all that without his injury games. And I just don't think there's really any position that Garrick doesn't score well in. So, yeah, he's definitely a lock-in my side for sure. Everything else looks good from that back end. Turbo, fantastic. Paseka and Takiaho. That's a very solid front row pairing. Unfortunately, man, Takiaho's price, $453K. Just unrealistic for a guy that's been out of the game for so many years to come back priced off almost one of his best years, 4 years ago. It's like, just give us a chance. If he was 350, I'd have him in my side, 100%. Because he's a jewel too, but yeah, it's not an option. Tavanga, though, I'm a big sucker for Jazz Tavanga when it comes to fantasy and Supercoach, because he's just a worker and he just makes a billion tackles. Yeah, he's the same price as White. He's the same price as Fine Filiaki. You know what I mean? Like, you've got another option there for much, much less ownership. As a hooker, career average anyway, 52. And that's just in, those are his old Warriors days as well, an average of 55 minutes. So that's kind of what I expect him to get there with Simpkin on the bench. If he can get 50 to 55 points of an average, I think he's going to, shoot up a bit faster than Fuyaki will, for example. But yeah, either way, there's an option there for you if you want to take a punt. But again, you're basically riding off the back of Croker being injured for longer, which is probably going to happen. The rest of the side looks as expected. You know what I mean? We know where Manly's assets are. They're all in the back. So they are kind of where they are. But yeah, for the Cows, we got blessed with that cheapy news. We'll kind of, all three of us were holding out, waiting to see if Duffy was going to be in there. With Clifford in the reserves, he's definitely won the spot. So yeah, really, really nice with Purdue as well. A couple of cheapy options. So Peyton's listening. He wants to say sorry for his old ways and disappointing everyone by giving us all a couple of cheapies. Thanks, Todd. Top bloke.
Thanks, Toddy boy.
I won't talk as much shit about you now. Psych. Sam McIntyre starts in the props too. He's a very, very impressive forward. So I'm keen to see how he goes there. Don't mind his price. He's just shy of 400. A little bit dearer than I'd like if he was around that Gula price maybe, but he's a goer. Bateman as well. There's a lot of minutes to go with the guys off the bench too. I don't think Hess gets much anymore. But yeah, it's what we wanted, really. It is. So is there anything more? Sorry, Trav. Do you want to jump in with them?
Hello, John Bateman.
Yeah, Johnny.
Hello, Johnny.
Johnny.
God, man, like it's just got to happen. It's just got to happen. I've got to say, Farth, how can I find some more, about another 80K to get up to Bateman? Because I want him so much. I really do. He's priced as a 53-point average on 71 minutes at the Tigers. In his 9 80-minute games last season, he averaged 61.78, which basically 62. In a club that didn't want him, in a team that he didn't want to play for, to be able to do that. What is he? Just over 500K.
Yeah.
It's
easy money.
It's this screams value so much. I just have to find a way to get it. The only way I can think about doing it at the moment is I go one of Preston and Hopgood or Olakawatu, who I've got as my 3 2RFs down to him. And I guess that saves me more than 100K on all of those. But yeah, I'm really keen on that. Don't forget Ruben Garrick, even being played in the centres. Everyone spoke about how intrigued they were about Garrick, and that the word was he was going to play out in the wing, and everyone became really excited. I think Garrick still in the centres is still a very good player, so don't forget about that. And I thought you might have skipped over him, Joel, but you brought it out in Braden Burns. So underrated on what he has done. And I'm like, we spoke about it a few times last year, Jesse. Like, how is this guy not getting games? Like, based on his stats, he's a monster.
Unreal.
Now it's there, right? So yeah. I do have one that I want to point out, and it's very odd, but Jake Clifford's named at 19. So to me, is there anything about that? What is that?
Means he's fit and he doesn't have the position.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how I was hoping you would answer it. So what that means is that, lock and load Thomas Duffy. Like he's got to be, don't go and get Humphreys because he's only halfback only. You lock and load Tom Duffy, set and forget, watch and see what he does.
Yeah. I just think Duffy's got more security than Humphreys, even though Humphreys is a freak in his one game as well that he's got 104 for Manly on. I just think Duffy, it's his spot to lose if now that he's got that he's got the jersey, he's got the 7, like he's in it, just impress and do what you got to do. I feel like with one of those things when it comes to the Humphreys discussion is you've got Dodd suspended now, so with what he's on, expecting Dodd to be their starting guy. No one's really expecting Clifford at the moment with Duffy in that position. So they're kind of opposite ends of the scale. But yeah, if things go south with Duffy and he does lose the jersey, we'll get into it, but like Volkman has appeared as an option with Moses indefinitely. If you really got to get off immediately, there's an out. If Humphreys wins the 7, he's an in. You know what I mean? There's other guys around it, so it's not as dire anymore. Like we've got options, but yeah, just on your Braden Burns thing too. But I just don't think he's had a bad game. It's just he's a freaking gun, and then he gets injured, and it's just they're the only bad games he has is when they're injury affected. Because yeah, we averaged 71.5 last year in 4 games, but he always seems to do it.
Crazy.
Yeah, freak. But yeah, good on him getting the spot.
The only game that we care about this weekend, Storm Eels. Let's go.
That's it.
Yep. Melbourne Storm versus the Parramatta Eels, Sunday 4 p.m. game, live on air if you want to watch it.
Oh, you won't watch it?
No, I'll put myself through the torture. It's all good. My word of warning here is load up on the Melbourne Storm players, but then you have to contend with next week's bye. They'll probably all ton up in this game. So fullback, all their stars are back. This is basically a full-strength Storm side minus Nelson and Sefa Solomona. So just use your imagination what you'd think would be their strongest lineup. And it basically is Pappy's back. Munster Hughes is there. Coates is back. Harry Grant's playing. Stefano Udakamanu is getting his club debut starting. It's a scary, scary, scary side. Lazarus Vale Epu is on the bench as well, got that 17 jersey. I mentioned him because he currently features in my Supercoach side. So the Eels, Isaiah Iongi has got that fullback spot. He's won it, so he's named at fullback, much to the delight of many Supercoaches out there. Good to see. He showed a lot of glimpses of brilliance in that night in the second trial that they played. I thought he played quite well against the Tigers, I believe. Sean Russell and Jake Tunga on the wings. A couple of injuries there, so they've been first up. Penasini and Lomax is named at centre, unfortunately. Dylan Brown, and you've mentioned it, boys, no Mitchell Moses, which is a huge blow. Ronald Volkman just been added to the game as well. Bottom dollar cheapie, I believe. How good to see. How good to see him there, but tread with caution because at the moment we have absolutely no idea about Moses. There's rumours about him being a longer term than first thought. Then there's rumours that it could literally be a week thing and he's back next week and he could have played this week if he really wanted to. Who knows? Not me. I don't think anyone knows at the moment, unfortunately. Offa Hengawi gets one of the prop spots with Paulo. Brendan Hands wins the hooker spot, but he will share that with Riley Smith, who's been named on the bench in the 14, just been added to the game as well. So we'll be keeping an eye on that one because he could become a decent option. He looks really good in the trials. Jack Williams goes from prop. I thought he was going to start there. He's now in the back row with, again, a couple of injuries with Kelma Tuolangi, and Hopgood will be in the lock position. And then, yeah, your bench for the Eels, Dury, Madison, and Charlie Geimer. So, off you go, boys. Talk about the Storm, please.
Or you, Trav. They're your boys.
As
good as ever as well.
Looking as good as ever, yeah. Well, in terms of what's on paper, we are fit, firing, ready to go. Preseason wasn't too convincing for us. I think it'll be a bit of a. I don't think this will be a whitewash like you're sort of predicting. I think it's just it's the first round. Anything can happen in terms of what can happen. Like Parramatta have been sitting here and have this penciled in all year, and all preseason. So they're ready to go, fit and firing not fit and firing, but firing and on cylinders to try and get this game. So don't think it's going to be a whitewash. Here's some stats for you. Cameron Munster is a 5'8" at 600K. Had a down year last year, but guess how much he averaged? 62 points. But that's a down year for a 5'8" named Cameron Munster.
Normally averages over 70 though.
Yeah, but that's 62 points is not a freaking bad thing at 5'8". The only thing I'd consider around it is that obviously he's got the round 2 bye and then they play Penrith. I think at the moment Storm are named as is. The interest I've got in them is high. There's lots of interest. I've got interest in Pappenhausen at his price, but because he picked up an injury and that sort of thing, I've sort of put him on hold a little bit. I'm very keen on Howarth. I think Will Warbrick takes his game to another level this year. I think Cameron Munster is a gun. Obviously, Jerome Hughes won Dally M. Stefano's ready for a big year. I think he played really well in the trials and he's ready to go. Harry Grant's the best 9 in the game. And Ali Katoa is probably the best 2RF and Supercoach, or second best even, or top 3. You can make an argument either way for that. And then I think Trent Liero's got growth and he's going to improve. Like, there's so much interest I've got in the Storm. I just don't want to pick any of them yet. So I've sort of I'm going to leave that for now and not. I have now got no Storm players on my team in my Supercoach, mainly because I don't think there's going to be a team list of 100 point scorers this week in round 1. I think we've got the bye, obviously, and then the Penrith game. So I think they're a fade until round 4. The other concern I've got, and Joel, you said it before, is minutes are concerned for me for Valepu. And the second Nas is free and ready to go, I think that's exactly where he takes that spot. So I think Valepu is going to end up sitting as your 4th front rower for a very long time and makes no money and is very cheap.
Yeah. Because I had Takura in my side, and then when I saw Valepu, I put him in there, and then I thought about it, and I thought, you know what? For 30k, I may as well just snuff this position because in 2 weeks' time it will be. So I may as well take that little bit of extra coin while I have it. But yeah, we'll just see what happens with him. Like, obviously he's got a good work rate in him, and his points per minute are fantastic. But again, if he plays 15 minutes, you're going to be stuck with those points. So yeah, Storm look fantastic. I do have a Storm player in my side, one Cameron Munster. I've got some extra coin up from Brimson up. I'm going to take that buy, which I was going to run this week, into next week and just keep on rolling with it, basically. Munster's a big game player. The Penrith game doesn't really scare me too much. Most players it probably would, but with him, he tends to take his foot off the pedal in the games where they're destroying the opposition. And when they've actually got a game on their hands, I really see Munster sort of pull it out. So, yeah, I don't mind it. But yeah, what a side, you know what I mean? For the Eels, but look, no Moses is a massive out for them. It kind of hurts a lot of their prospects in a way too. We had all this expectation leading into it. How's Lomax going to do? A lot of it was built around his combination with Moses at the same time. So if you're spending up on Lomax, it might be a little bit, maybe not exactly what you're expecting to begin. In the same discussion, you can pretty much put with Ayongi, even Dylan Brown. Dylan Brown played a lot last year without Moses, and to be fair to him, he actually scored quite well considering. But yeah, it's one of those unknowns with how long he's actually going to be injured for. Because again, it could be something short, could be something really long. Again, it's just completely in the air. But definitely a close watch. I like the bench makeup for players like Hopgood. I think Hopgood's an absolute freak. He's in my team. I think he's going to get a good 65 odd plus minutes, give or take. He's going to be right up there to do what he does best, everything. So, yeah, I think he's an absolute lock-in. Gone cold on Kelma after that trial. Just reminded me that Kelma has those games in him. They're not exactly out of his repertoire yet, so a little bit off. I think Jack Williams would be really good for the side, especially going in the second row. The dual position front row was almost there, but we missed it. So if he gets a couple of games between now and round 6, it could be a really handy option for us. But yeah, look, the Eels will do what they can do in this game. It's round 1. Right now, I wouldn't want to be in round 1 against the Storm because they never lose it. But you're not expected to win at the best of times. But yeah, it'll be a good one. Last game of the week on a Sunday. Like, I'm freaking all over this. So, but just quickly on your Valepu play in the front row and the potential of him being enough, because I did have him in my side and I made that decision to drop him down. I actually went down to Simpkins from the Titans, and just if anyone's interested in knowing handy nuff plays in general, he's a dual position front or second row, so he does give you the option to move players back and forth if you do have one each way. But the best thing about it is the Titans have the majority of their games on Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, and Sunday, pretty much from now to the end of the season. So you get a good look in at Thursday, Friday, even the first 1 or 2 games on a Saturday, depending on the week, for a vice captain loop, which is very handy. And I'm happy to run with one nuff dual Did it last year with Filiami Fafita. I did it the year before with Murdoch and Silla. You just pick one. You see what their fixtures run like, and yeah, as far as it looks, he has the best long-term nuff potential. He's never going to get named. So
you're right. So it looks like that's why people are playing Ethan Roberts. Ethan Roberts is at 19% owned, right? And he's not going to get a game for the Roosters. He's a 198K front row forward 2RF. But the Roosters play a lot of Thursday, Friday games. I think you mentioned it, Jess. So
Friday, every Friday almost.
Every Friday, whereas the Titans, we worked out, only has 4 Friday games, no Thursdays. So he's almost a lock-in for a vice captain nuff option every single week, other than those 4 Fridays. So out of 27 rounds, you've got this ability to do it. Plus, he's also got the bye this week. So this is I think this is a no-brainer for it if you're playing a nuff option. And there are lots and lots of talk around doing that nuff option because of the lack of options in front row forward.
Yeah, I think, the thing is, there's not a lack of options in front row. We've got loads of good options. We've got May, Horsburgh, Tino. You know what I mean? You've got...
they're expensive. You've got Fuanor, Blake, Tarpany.
Yeah, there's heaps of them. But again, they're dear. And you're not going to run with your 4th front rower. You're going to stick with your 2. You're going to lock 2 absolute guns down from the start most of the time. You can almost put Horsburgh in gun category at the moment after that first game. And he's 350K. So... yeah, if you just decide these are the guys I'm happy with, get a Gula as a 3rd front rower or an Afahu White or something, and just have them as an option. Block that last slot out. They're not going to make you any coin. It's not worth it, and it gives you the potential. And with all the looping this year, that we can do because of the flex, it's just really good to have one, especially a dual. So, and he's 2% owned, this Simpkins guy too. So it's not like a lot of people are really jumping on him. There are definitely people jumping on a dual position nuff. Miles Martin was a popular one in the first week before Vegas. He's locked in now for those players that have him, the 10% that do. Now everyone's on Roberts because I think it's, I don't know, maybe it's just an ownership thing. You just jump to it. But if you actually look at the games that they're playing, Simpkins definitely is the better enough option long term. So one little one to chuck in there.
Love it. Well done.
That's it.
Well done, boys.
Teamless.
That's TLT. Teamless done. So next part of this, we will then, I guess, just let everyone know where our teams are sitting. We obviously did our big team release last week. Go catch that podcast if you haven't already. Definitely an interesting one. Now, what changes have we made? We obviously let our legends know. Being a big TLT, we've sat down, had a bit of look at our teams, made some changes. I've made a couple of live on-air changes as we've gone as well. Literally just did the Simkin thing. Thanks for that little update there, Jesse, and freeing me up a little bit more extra money. So thank you. Thanks, mate.
That's all right. Did the same. It's all good.
Thank you. So I'll go first. I'll do mine first because I actually don't have many changes from what I did last week. So I'm trying. So I'll put my hand up now. Sorry, legends. I put some false information into the chat on the weekend when I said to you I made a big change. I traded Preston over to Barnett when I got the news that Barnett was starting lock, which I absolutely loved. I was so for it. I said, give me Barnett. I need to have Barnett in my life. Did it. And then obviously I wasn't entirely happy. I was like, you know what? From what he did, I'll take what he scored, but it pisses me off that I did make that late change, which normally goes against everything. I don't like doing late changes. I like to just stick with my guns and off I go. Didn't check Supercoach for a couple of days. Checked it this morning, and I'm scrolling through and I see Preston. I'm thinking, why have I got Preston in my team again? Like, what have I done? And then I've realized I've done all this and forgot to click save my team on the weekend. So yeah, I got a bit stuffed up there, but it's actually worked out. The Supercoach gods up there, thank you, are shining down to me so far. This is an early sign that, boys, be careful. I might be taking it out this year.
Well, you keep making mistakes like that, I don't think you're going to go very far.
Yeah.
Good luck. You're the best. Preston's on for 100 this weekend. Preston's on for 100. So that's my first change. I've traded basically Barnett back to Preston. So welcome back to the team, Preston. It's good to have you. Apart from that, I haven't done too much else. I actually went Fine Fuiaki to down 1K to White just because of that dual factor. I like that. So I've got him back into the team. I ended up putting Hubner in. Everyone's talking about him since TLT. You can't get past. I just keep thinking, I do love Tallis Duncan as a player. Just for some reason, coaches aren't naming him to have this position where I think it should be his position. So I don't know what's happening with him, but I'll jump on the Hubner bandwagon for now. There is a couple of little cheapies that if it does go south, I can probably switch over and make work. So I'm not too worried about him, and he's literally my 6th spot. So if all goes well, he has that spot for months and months and months, and that points that Jesse just then spoke about, maybe even more keen and excited to have him. And apart from that, my team is still basically set. So if you don't know what my team looks like, we will do the post. Obviously, today when you're listening to this, we'll have our updated teams. Now they're looking in that nice Supercoach layout post. But that's it. No huge changes whatsoever. I've stuck pretty nicely here, and I have available 94K. So still got a little bit of Bicky there. So that's me, boys. Done.
I've made some wholesale changes. I'll be honest, I always do. It's an absolute shocker. I'm terrible for it. I think I'll be wholesale changing and tinkering right until the Roosters game, to be honest, because all of it comes down to one big Angus Crichton, who is comfortably sitting in my second row, and I love every single bit of it. So I've changed quite a lot. I've still running the same hooker, Mamazella Smith, Horsburgh, May are in there. My bench forwards are a little different for the front row. I had Tino and Pacifica Tonga. Now it's White and Simpkins. So I have dropped Tino out for now because I was so impressed by Horsburgh, honestly. My intention was to just swap them straight over. Tino comes in, Horsburgh. I'll just play along and he'll do whatever. I saw enough out of Horsburgh that game to think this guy is going to average 60 at least for now. And I'll work a way to get Tino in the next 1 or 2 weeks coming through. So he's out of the side for the minute. My second row did consist of Lucas Watson and Preston to start. It has had a massive upgrade. It's now Angus Crichton, Hopgood, and Preston still. Preston's still in there. That Preston and Dylan Lucas swap is flipping every single day. So I'll decide on one or the other. But yeah, Watson and one of Lucas or the other has turned into Angus Crichton and Hopgood, and I love it a lot. Still got Seyfarth, Gajewski turned into Hubner, and White moved up. I've also got Charlie Geimer on my bench. I think security-wise, I think Charlie Geimer's probably got a bit more in him than Gajewski does, to be honest. Even still, if Geimer gets 40 minutes, which I would think he probably does, I reckon he gets 40 points. And I'm more than happy with that for his price. I just think he's going to do a bit more in the middle or so than Gajewski will. But again, I'll go to whoever makes the coin. Halves are the same. Duffy, Cleary. Metcalf, I did have Brimson there, and I was super keen on Brimson. I still am super keen on Brimson, don't get me wrong. It's actually Cameron Munster now. I want those points this week instead of next week, and I'll work it out from there on. I'll get Brimson in my centre wing, I'd imagine. Did have Azarko and Jesse Arthurs sitting in there with Garrick and Marzio are a lock-in for me. But yeah, between Azarko and Arthurs, that is now Campbell Graham and Adam Dewey. The bench of Shibasaki, Toya, and Purju hasn't changed at all. And then my fullbacks haven't changed at all. So there's been a few changes overall in the side. It's a bit of a restructure around. A lot more in my second row. I just wanted the big dogs. After seeing how good the forwards went, I just thought, you know what? They're the best for a reason. You know what I mean? And we say it all the time. We always talk about it. For whatever reason, we don't follow our own advice and get the guns. I just said, give me them. I want them now. I want Munster. I want Crichton. I want Hopgood. I want Campbell Graham even. He's history shows that he is a 65, 70 point guy. I want him now. So I'm just going to get into him and hope my cheapies work out. Otherwise, I'll be trading.
You've followed me in.
You're a freak. You're an absolute freak. Yeah, thanks, Yo. Yo, you know what? He told me a lesson. He did. I looked at that and I just thought, you idiot. We all knew this, and Joel was the only one that actually did it for whatever reason. He's a bloody
genius.
You're just a whiz, mate.
I told you it's my year. It's my year.
It is.
It's my year, boys. It's my year. Jump on now. Put a bet on Sportsbet. They're doing live odds for us. Whoever wins the League of Inches comp out of us three, I've shot into $3 favoritism. So Still a bit of odds, 3 cents you can make per dollar. I think that's tremendous value for how certain I am of winning this year.
All right, we're 2 games into a 27-round season. Not even
Jeez.
finished. Not even halfway into the first round.
I think Joel's living in opposite land because
Yeah, I
that
think so.
$1.03 is more so him being the end. And way behind us. But yeah, anyways, he can have his moment to shine right now. So let him be.
Remind me of
but
the meme of the guy at the Olympics who's like got his medal and he's like cheering, but he's like 15 steps down the bottom.
yeah, that's right.
I was looking at my overall rank. I'm a gun. I know this game. I know Supercoach.
Yeah, do you? But you just apologise to all of our listeners around the monumental mistake you made on the weekend.
True, and didn't you got the wrong McLean last year as well?
Yeah, but he just knows Supercoach, hey?
Just giving people a go. Content.
Lives and breathes it.
All right, for me, I've made some pretty big changes, but mine was pretty much I watched the weekend and went. I've told everybody that we need to get all these guns like Yo, like Ola Kawatu, like Brayley, and we didn't. And I've told all of these people, Jesse and Joel, and had all of these people message me, DM me, comment on things, and tag me in it and say, Trav, what do you think? What are you doing? And I'm telling them all to get it, and then don't take my own advice. So like I'm good at giving advice, but don't take it, right? So it made me change my team. So what I've tried to do is get as many guns in as I can and remove and turn it to. I've gone almost a guns and cheapies model, and removed as many mid prices as I can. And I'm taking mid prices of around anything under anything under around 480 below to around that sort of 350. To me is a mid pricer. 500k above is not mid. So that's sort of where I've taken that, and I've tried to remove all of that as much as I can. However, as I said to you before, I think Seyfarth is a major exception, and I'm happy to take a risk on one. So I've done that. So to do that, my team last week was Connor Watson in the hooker with Sandon Smith, and I've dropped Watson to be able to do some of the things that I want to do down to Mamazelis. It was originally Pakes, didn't like the TLT. So I've gone up to Mamazelis. I've got May, Horsburgh, White, and obviously, as you boys have done already, or said, and Joel, you've just done, I did it today, Simpkins in my Nuff 4th spot for front row forward. My 2 RFs, I did have Seyfarth, Hopgood, Preston. I now have Oli Kawatu, Hopgood, Preston, and I pushed Seyfarth to the 4th 2 RF. And currently have Gostchevsky and Hubner on the bench there as 2 cheapy options. I've kept the Duffy Cleary option, and that's for me. That's a no-brainer for me for a very long time. Obviously, I can't change the 5/8s. They both played on the weekend, Metcalf and Weeks. However, I did originally in the team last week have Dewey. Just got off Dewey. Like I said to you in the podcast around the team list, I just want to wait and see. There's a lot of changes there. I'm very high on both their wingers. I'm pretty keen on both their centers, but all 4 of them can't provide me a good option like every single week. So I just want to wait and see which way they go, where they play, what's the side, what's dominant, what's not, and I'll make changes as I can. And happy to. I mean, we've got 40 odd trades, so like I'm not worried about it. So then in my centers, I did have Garrick, Isako, Marju, and Skelton. I still have Garrick, Isako, Marju. To me, they're just 3. I am not making any changes on that unless Isako is one of the 5 not playing for the Dolphins. If that's the case, I'm not picking him. I'm not waiting on that. I don't like the 3 center winger cheapy options to play this week when I can just change Isako to someone else. So I'm going to watch that. But I did have Skelton, the money that I saved from Watson going down to Mamazelis and then being able to push one of my players up to get Ola Kawatu meant that I could also turn Skelton into Campbell Graham. So Campbell Graham sitting on my team as soon as I saw that he was named. Apparently I saw an article today saying that he's 100%. So he's ready to go. And whilst he didn't play the trials, I don't care. Campbell Graham is a freaking superstar. And he is in my team, and I'm happy to watch that. So I'm not making that change. And then my three cheapies are pretty much what everyone has. And if you don't have these three, then I'd be interested to see what you've got. But you might have maybe someone a bit more expensive. But I got Padu, Shibasaki, and Toya to me. And then my fullback flex hasn't changed. Turbo, Iongi, Ponga, most popular combination.
I was it's really good. It's solid as anything, really, isn't it? The money that you spend getting Ponga and Turbo as your fullbacks is nearly identical to the money that you would spend getting Tedesco and Walsh. And I looked at it and I put them in there and I thought, you know what? This is, forget like all the other pod plays, like these fullbacks, this trio, the template back three, admittedly, they're probably the best back three you can have in that setup. But damn, I just want to do something else. I just want to go against it. But I'm going against the grain for the reason of going against it. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's going to work out. I don't think it'll pay off, but I just want to.
But we don't know if Turbo and Ponga's going to work out either. But
well, that's the thing. We have a good, but like, Ponga is almost 50% owned. At that point, I went back and looked at Ponga's stats to start the season. He's got a really, really good rate of starting the year off with a 50 for the last 4 years. So I'm like, do we just humor it a little bit? Because you can get any fullback you want, you know what I mean? Like, we all know who the good ones are. We've done all the research, we've done the previews, we've worked the numbers and the stats, and they all kind of line up to this exact trio, which is a very popular one. But at the same time, I'm just like, God, that's a lot of ownership. I just want to mix it up somewhere.
Do it. Go nuts. Yeah. I'm trying to find a way to get Connor Tracy in my team.
Drop Ozako.
If he's not named to play Friday, that's I'm reckon I'm potentially gonna. Well, he will be dropped. It's just who I go to.
It's insanity. If you drop Ozako for Connor Tracy, that is insanity.
Watch Connor Tracy get 100.
Yeah. Watch Ozako not play.
Look, it'll probably be a Ozako to Lucas, but anyways.
Yeah, that would make the most sense. But yeah, look, if you're that keen on Tracy, dude, back the gut. Back your gut.
Big play.
Captains.
Alrighty. I was about to say, captains, vice captains. How are we looking?
I've already VC Cleary, so I don't have that option. And I'm just straight up on Turbo. Captain Turbo against the Queensland Cowboys. And I really hope that both Seabolt and Payton have not taught their teams how to play defense. And this game on Saturday night is just a pure blown offensive powerhouse, and both teams have put up 60, and how fun that's going to be. And I'll watch Turbo get 350 as my captain. Thank you very much. Let's go.
I don't think Payton has the ability to teach defense. So,
I love that.
For that reason, I told you, I said psych when I came to dissing Payton. It's going to happen. For that reason, Turbo's my captain. I got the VC on Ponga, but for the vibes, I think I'm going to chuck the VC on Crichton. And that way I can't regret anything. So, yeah, I'm pretty set on a Turbo captain, admittedly. I don't think I'm going to be doing any crazy loops this round because I don't think I can, realistically. Because, yeah, my front row is... Yeah, but then I'll have to take Terrell May out of my starting lineup and chuck a reserve on him. So, just on the contingent
Put him into the 2RF.
Well, the thing is, I don't bloody have a 2RF that I can swap him down to yet. I've got to work on that. And that's all my jewels. All my jewels, I've got 3 of them, and they're all in my front row. So something's not right at the moment. So yeah, I might have to flick something around and shuffle some things. But yeah, I will do that. So yeah, VC, Angus Crichton, let's go. Captain Turbo, very happy about that.
All of a sudden have Jules everywhere. I don't know how I've done it, but goodness me, Jules is like the least of my problems all of a sudden, which normally every year it's
so many.
A huge problem for me. I've actually gone the Turbo, but I am so tempted to do Ponga. So tempted right now because of the no Buller, no Coruscant factor for the Tigers. I just think it might take him a couple of games just to get used to everything, and they might be there for the taking early on for the Knights. So I look at the Knights side, and I know we've bagged him. It probably looks the best that it probably can do early on. So I just think Ponga could potentially have a field day. So Very
This is your
tempted. Like Ponga up against the Tigers. Goodness me, I'm so tempted on that.
Yeah, Ponga against the Tigers is a very juicy matchup. He scored a 124 against them last year and a 137 in the year before. So pretty good. Admittedly, though,
What's Turbo's numbers against Cowboys?
not as good. Not as good. Last one was 45, but in 2021. So he played him 20.
We can't go.
That's the last time. He's played him twice in the last 4 years, but he'd scored 229 against them in 2021.
Okay, we're back on.
We're back on.
And where do they play?
That was in Queensland.
And where are they playing this weekend?
They're playing at home.
Brookie.
That's right.
Yeah, Brookie.
That's all you need to know.
That's a 150. Round one.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be watching Ponga nervously. I know I have him in my team, but I'm so tempted to do it.
Yeah.
Ponga's a great play too. Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong, and I think there'll be maybe 20 at most that'll separate the two of them. I think Turbo scores more than Ponga, but 20 at most, and that's not going to really hurt you. It's still going to get you 130, 150. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's just a casual mere 150, you know?
Yeah.
Is what it is for round
it's
one.
Not going to hurt you.
We're very hopeful.
Not at all. That's probably it, I reckon. As we mentioned before, if you want to see any up to date, we'll try our best. We'll see obviously what's happened with the weather and that and how we're impacted, but we'll try and put our changes this weekend up on the Legends group as much as possible. Jesse might have to take one for the team this weekend if we have no internet and things like that, and just be able to do his changes and keep you guys entertained. Apologies in advance if that does happen, but obviously you know the reason why. Again, please stay safe out there. Unless you just seen a notification pop up quickly, it's sort of been on storm watch as we've been going. It's been rumored to potentially be brought back now. So it might not be hitting land for another probably few hours later than they anticipated. So later Friday into Saturday morning, they're talking about now. So see what happens there. If that happens, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but stay safe is the main point. Hope you're all in Southeast Queensland again. Just do the right thing. Stay indoors. All that sort of stuff. Listen to the authorities. They tell you, get moving. Do what you got to do. So thank you for listening. Hope this has helped you. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, all that jazz. Follow the social media platforms. And we will chat to you over the weekend. Enjoy the footy round one. How good. We'll be back hopefully Sunday night for our review show. Bye.